Hello, guys, and welcome to this live commentary reaction of this super cool interview of Dan Abnett. So, we are going to discuss a lot of things and just amazing questions that were asked. He answered, and now we have a tons of things to, sink our teeth in. So, that's gonna be interesting. So basically how this is gonna go, guys, is that I'm going to play what he is saying, what he's answering to, and then gonna stop at comment on that particular thing and move on to the next. So this should be very interesting to delve into. So hi to everybody in the chat. Hi to Apple Killer and Dear Clyton. My amazing Primarchs are here. Ferris. What? Vote about the best third-person story game. Yes. Uh, it doesn't matter. Just say what game you want. Yeah, for the poll there. Okay. Well, that is it. That's very interesting topic, guys, in the chat. Hi, Dark, and hi, Zericha too. Okay, I'm gonna address all of that, but it's not on the topic, so we're gonna leave it after the stream, guys. And this is not that short of an interview, so we do have to, keep it like at least, well, not more than an hour. So let's start and see what are the amazing questions and answers. Yeah. Okay, let's see.
Lock signal clear. Resolving communications. Receiving astropathic relay transmission from Remembrancer Dan Abnett. Who would prevail in single combat? A Grey Knight or an Adeptus Custodes?
Okay, we had this question before, guys, so let's see what he says.
A Grey Knight versus a Custodes. Oh my goodness me. That's one of those, who's stronger, the Hulk or Thor, isn't it? Type questions. Serious answer, my money would just be on the Custodes. Grey Knight's got amazing abilities, but I think the Custodes would probably end up winning. However, my real answer to that question is, my God, that's a scene I want to write. Huh.
Okay, so let's start with this. And first, of course, guys, the original video is directly down below, so go and check it out in the fullest glory of it and support the channel that made this. So yeah, that was a question that we touched upon throughout my many streams and videos. Who's gonna win, Grey Knights or Custodes? So logically, for me too, the Custodes would win because they're right after in terms of power level after the Primarchs. So naturally they should win, while the Grey Knights, although they're super amazing, they're Astartes. So they're just two different types of warriors, literally. And I think that they're close in some ways just because the Grey Knights are so, more powerful than just a regular Astarte, obviously. But the Custodes are like, higher, and they're also a bit more special than you realize. Well, maybe you do, but he's gonna also touch upon that a bit later on. So let's continue.
Hi, I'm Dan Abnett, author of many novels for Warhammer and Warhammer 40,000, and today I'm going to tackle some of the unsolved mysteries of the Warhammer 40,000 universe.
Were the twin Primarchs, Altharius and Omegon, tricked by the Xenos Cabal? Or was it all part of the intelligence gathering and complex plotting the traitorous Alpha Legion are known for?
I personally believe that the Alpha Legion is not duped by the Cabal at all. What I wanted to set up with the idea was they made a really conscious decision. They weren't being tricked by anybody at all. Now, I think they may have later come to believe that they had been tricked or manipulated, but that was not the Cabal's intent. Certainly that was not my intent in writing the Cabal, and that was not the intent that I was trying to write into them. Whether or not the Altharius and his Legion went along the route they went simply because they completely trusted what they were doing, or whether, as seems more likely in hindsight, they were deploying their usual cunning, which is to go along with something in order to learn more about it, in order to make a better decision further down the line, is, I think, a very good retroactive reading of what is happening there. So yes, that suggestion you're making in that question, I think, is a really good rereading of the intention of those stories.
Yeah, I thought the same. Basically, I thought the same. And I recently got through that book, so yeah.
Alpha Exodus asks, how much of Altharius Omegon's backstory did you have worked out? How do you feel about the trajectory of the Legion and Twin Primarch since writing Legion?
Writing Legion was an opportunity where I really discovered that we were doing a good job of the Horus Heresy. And we weren't sure yet whether the High Lords of Games Workshop trusted what we were doing. There's one guy, Alan Merritt, who is fantastic lore master of stuff, coming to our meetings, tell us what we could do. We'll point out all the contradictions and strangenesses in the lore, the things that we would have to resolve, the choices that we'd have to make about which version we went with, all those kind of things. I wanted to join the main storyline from a different route, like I was coming on from a different feeder lane. Start with a different Legion, one of the less famous ones, show how the heresy was affecting them. And I chose the Alpha Legion, mainly because I didn't know much about them and I thought they were interesting. So, knowing that they were all about secrets and stealth, I realised that the one thing that the book really had to do was to have a big surprise in it. I worked out about 6 things that I thought could be the big twist in the book. And I went in to see Alan. So I said to him, can I do this? And he went, yeah. And I went, oh, all right, can I do this? And he went, yeah. And we went down the whole list and he let me do all 6 of them. So I came out of the room with permission to not only do the things that I thought were going to be big secrets they might let me do one of, plus this enormously huge one that I never thought I'd get. So it was great. I loved being able to do that and to deliver a book that made people just go, what the hell? Because there was stuff here about the Alpha Legion they'd never seen before in their lives.
Yeah, so that is very interesting. Basically, the prophecy that I love to refer to is legit, and the Cabal had genuine intentions to deliver that. So they were not like, oh, we are lying out of our asses, nothing like that. And I never got that impression anyway. So it's good to hear the confirmation that they were legit in their intentions and that prophecy was also legit. Once again, that if the Emperor wins, chaos also is gonna win, because humanity is going to just keep on feeding chaos, and if Horus wins, he's gonna destroy humanity and thus destroying chaos, because there was not gonna be anything to feed chaos anymore. So just taking this piece of information, you can stretch it and stretch it, just think about it and what it could mean and all of that.
Thorny Bacon, what are your designs for the future of the Gaunt's Ghosts series?
As soon as I get the chance, I'm going to go back and bring in a new arc of books. I've got some fairly cool ideas about what's going to happen in this, some things that explore the new dynamic of the regiment, because they've ended up in unusual places. And actually, although it's probably a year off before I get into that, without giving anything away, there's going to be some sort of Gaunt's Ghost niceness to see before then at some point. Some really interesting things that we're going to do. So the Sabbath Worlds Crusade will reappear even before I get back into the next major arc of Gaunt.
Flats.
Okay, that's interesting, but I'm not familiar with those series just yet, because I'm trying to catch up on the Horus Heresy. I'm on Genesis right now. There's some interesting stuff there, but I'm not even that into the book, so I'm basically where Malkador is talking with the Custody, and then after that, where Rogel Dorn is talking to the Custody, and they're trying to speak about the Imperium Assassinorum and all of that. We'll see where that book takes me, but for now, I'm not yet where he is. Oh, okay. I'm gonna check out your comments, guys. And hi, dear Ivy, hi to you. So yeah, let's get at least to half of the video and comment on what he says before he can get to the comments. But you guys, keep your head in the game and just write me what impressions you have so far.
Squashy, who is your favorite traitor Primarch, and why is it Angron?
It's not Angron, it's Perturabo. I love the siege warfare angle. I love the fact that he's kind of the demented version of Dawn and is totally frustrated. Perturabo's my favourite. Sorry, Angron's great, but Angron does one thing: he shouts a lot.
Thorny bait.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, let's see. Who is my favorite traitor Primarch then? I would say, like, right away on the top of my head is Magnus the Red. I don't know if the TTS series influenced me, but I'm just kind of fascinated with him because he was not initially bad or anything like that. He just wanted to practice his abilities to develop that, to understand more about the warp and how everything works. And he did to a very big extent, and that took a toll on him, as we know. And then he ruined the Webway project, which probably would not happen if the Emperor was clear about that. And of course, if the Emperor was not totally a hypocrite about using psychic powers, all of those things. So I kind of feel for him. In the same time, I do feel that he just has a lot of potential, and if he were free to practice and in some kind of a way, along with the Emperor by his side, as father and son, maybe together, they could have prevented much of what happened and transpired. If they had more personal relationship that was a lot more honest. But that is, of course, just my theory. But literally, on the top of my head, my favorite traitor Primarch is, Magnus the Red.
If you were permitted to explore the missing Primarchs, would you do so?
Oh, that's super interesting. And tell me, who is your favorite traitor Primarch here in the chat or in the comments? And that is a very cool question. If you're permitted to explore the missing Primarchs, which of there's two, would you do so?
Should they remain a mystery?
No, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I'd be really tempted if there was an official request and they said, we've finally decided we're going to announce this and we want Dan to write the story in which that appears. That would be such a singular honour that I probably would be foolish not to say yes. But they are deliberate mysteries. They are deliberate mysteries, first of all, because it increases the sense that this is a huge and ultimately unknowable universe. And that makes it more interesting. There are always things that we don't know the answer to. The universe becomes much richer because it allows space for your imagination. The Horus Heresy era, the Primarchs era, is the mythology. It's ancient history and it's mythology. And what we have is the mythical versions of those stories to play around with in 40k. I always think about it in terms of things like the myth of Hercules. There are so many myths about Hercules, and they are actually massively contradictory. He couldn't possibly have done all these things. Some of them are obviously very literal stories, some of them are very symbolic stories, and after a while you have a body of stories about Hercules by the time you get to the Roman era, and virtually none of them, if any of them, ever happened to a person called Hercules. So if you think about that in 40k terms, 10,000 years in the future, where a lot of information is lost or deliberately suppressed, how do we know? The stories we have, contradictory stories we have about Rogel Dawn, are exactly that. They're just stories. So one of the things we're doing in the novels is to try and work out the best way of telling that makes the best sense in terms of the story. And we try and find a way of telling it in a brand new way. Alanius Pius is a really good one of example of that, where what we're trying to do there is to say, yes, there was a route to the myths that you know, but they've sprung from different places, and actually here's the real story of it. And I think, again, going back to the missing Primarchs thing, if you go back to one of these things and you try and explain it too definitively, it robs it of its mysteries. That absolutely is the biggest challenge of writing the Horus Heresy books. What we've ended up doing is telling, I've lost count now, but we're sort of telling 4, 5 or 6 different versions of the myth. All of these stories, like the Hercules stories that I was mentioning earlier, all of these things happened, and they were handed down, they were told and retold and retold and retold, and eventually they were all hooked onto this name Alanius Pius. They all became stories about Alanius Pius, but they weren't originally. He is this composite figure of other people, and that's how the story has reached it.
Flintoretska.
Okay. So there's a lot to unpack there, what he said. He has a point there. When you're a writer, you have to think about the bigger picture. You have to think about how do you write those stories so they can make sense at the same time. You have to have this in mind that there's just so many years, that's thousands of years. So if you think back really in our real history, 10,000 years, we don't really have, anything tangible to say like, oh yeah, we know exactly what happened. Yeah, we absolutely do not. Well, although those are thousands of years in the future, where, in the 30K they had all the technology to actually record stuff, but you can still have a massive loss of information somewhere along the lines. So basically, everything that is written, even if it's canon, maybe it did not happen in the way that it was written. So it's actually not canon, like concrete 100% written in stone. Yeah, so that is it. I mean, we can break the keyboard saying, but this is this and this is that, but sometimes it could be proven wrong. So that's why I always say that, everything that I'm also talking about and everything that I'm also getting to as a conclusion to whatever it is just based on what I currently know, and that could change in the future. When I get to something else that maybe changes that or maybe confirms that, whatever the topic is. So we just have to have open mind about everything, and let just keep going, keep going and learning and making our own conclusions about whatever it is about the emperor too. So that is what is interesting. Let me see real quick what you guys are talking about in the chat. Oh wow, I really have to get to your comments when I'm done with this. Oh no, I do not wear any color contacts. My eyes are what you see. Actually, they're more blue or not, depending on the light. So yeah, I was accused of having eyes like gems when I was in kindergarten. So that is, well, that was like meant to be an insult from one other girl. She's like, ugh, you have eyes like gems. And I'm like, okay. So yeah. Oh, it's so funny. I've been asked whether or not I have contacts so many times, but no, I have nothing. Okay, let's continue here.
Is there room for hope in the grim, dark future of Warhammer 40,000?
I do hope not, because then it won't be the 40k universe anymore. I think the reason that Warhammer 40k is so distinctive is because it is incomparably bleak. We bandy around the word grimdark and all that kind of stuff, but it is just, it's an awful, awful place. It has that unique distinction with just about every other science fictional universe you can think of. They're always places that you'd love to go and visit. You'd love to go and spend some time in, I don't know, the Star Trek universe, or travel with Doctor Who, or whatever it is, because they're attractive places where you think there might be adventure and there might be danger, but they're also wonderful. Warhammer stands alone as being the place where you would not even want to visit for 5 minutes, because it's so atrociously awful. And I love the fact that the fans have embraced 40k because it literally is the darkest possible timeline. And I think the 40k universe was almost a reaction to Thatcher's Britain and the problems we were having there. It was like, let's take that and make it even worse. It is an object lesson in how things can go disastrously wrong, and you wouldn't want to have anything to do with it. Having said that, there isn't room for hope with a capital H, but there is definitely and necessarily room for hope with a small h on the short term at the human level, because otherwise what we're creating in this fiction would be unbearably depressing, I think.
Yeah, he is right. I mean, one thing that makes 40k super unique is the dark aspect, is also the esoteric aspect, which I'm just waiting for him to just say it. And that makes it layers upon layers upon layers. And there's something for everyone, you can say, in that kind of a way. So I personally am not usually attracted to anything that is super villainous or evil or whatever. I'm the total opposite. But because of there's all of these layers and everything is so original to me in terms of, well, the characters, the structure of everything, all that is 40k, that's why it's also so freaking interesting, and it just pulls you in. So I agree with him. There has to be some kind of a hope on a human level, so you know you can connect to the characters and associate with what they are going through to an extent, let's say. But you also have to face the fact of the universe, which is, well, it's one of the darkest universes that you can ever imagine. Actually, it is the darkest, yeah, because I don't know about any other that you can say it's darker. So there's charm to it. There's charm to it.
Jean-Luc Pikachu. How involved are you with the Eisenhorn-picked recorded series?
Oh, boy.
I don't believe, on pain of excommunication by the black ships of the Inquisition, that I'm allowed to talk about that very much at all. Conversations have been had, and that I have attended certain meetings. Beyond that, I'm not going to say anything other than that I'm very very optimistic about the way it's going to shape up.
Oh, that is great. So maybe he is not involved with the Eisenhorn series, but whatever the case may be, I think that he is. Yeah, I think that he is involved. I mean, how could he not be? Whatever it is, I'm sure that they're getting things done in the right way. I'm pretty sure.
Can one feel pity for Magnus the Red?
No,
No.
he's a dick.
Wow.
Medekian.
I mean, yeah, maybe he became, such, but he wasn't always. I don't think so.
In Salvation's Reach, the Imperial Guard are aided by 3 Astartes from 3 different chapters. Why weren't the Astartes from the same chapter?
Oh, that's a good question. I try and keep the focus on the human characters. The Gaunt's Ghost series are obviously about the Imperial Guard. They're about the human level regular fighters. And to start dropping Astartes and to start dropping Chaos Astartes into those stories is difficult because they are working on a completely different level. So I had to be very careful about it. So I didn't want to have a whole bunch of Space Marines turning up and completely eclipsing the importance of Gaunt's Ghosts in the course of the story. By the same token, it was an important mission. And it was likely that they would get some support from the Astartes, so the sort of chapters of knights that you need to petition to ask them a favour. The reason there's only 3 of them is because Astartes are very, very rare. In the 40k universe, there aren't really very many of them around anymore. So for an Astartes to turn up, for an army of Astartes to turn up, it's got to be a really big deal. And I thought that was not only in keeping with the nature of the storyline and served my purposes in the storyline, but also really showed us a lot about the way the universe worked. The fact that these Astartes were very special, and they were literally an unbalancing factor if they appeared, and therefore you had to sort of use them sparingly, and 1 was enough, or in this case 3 was enough. And I think that works really, really well. I think that book is one of the ones that shows the differences and connections between the regular Astra Militarum and the Adeptus Astartes very, very clearly indeed.
Irelia.
Interesting. Okay, I haven't reached that particular moment in time. Okay, I'm gonna go through your comments now real quick before we continue because there are quite a lot now. See here. Okay, interesting stuff. Gameplay later? Yeah, high chance of that. Let's see how long this stream goes, and we'll see how much time I have. Oh yeah, the books are great, at least for what I've reached so far. Blood of the Blood for the Blood God. Okay. Kinda made a lot of mistakes. Well, there are like so many that's hard to count actually, but yeah, you can say that. Okay. Oh, and Vulcan. Dark. Well, Vulcan is not Trader Primarch. Sanguinius too. If I have to, I did my top 10 Primarchs. Did I do it? Damn it! If I forgot to do it, no, I think I did it. Damn it! Yeah, I haven't done top top something. Traitor Primarchs, though. Actually, let me know if that's something that you'll be interested in, sorry. I'm reading and thinking in the same time. Okay. Maybe they will never cover those missing Primarchs because he already gave the reason why. It's not gonna be the same if every freaking secret is revealed. Yes, you are a true son of Dorn. Ah, that's interesting. Sigmar was abducted through warp travel and turned into a Primarch. But he is so much more powerful, so I don't think that makes much sense. He should be much more powerful, even if he is transferred to another universe, you know? Well, at least that's how I see it. Okay, I reached some kind of a part where, yeah, Nostro Dumas. I have to know how to read your name. Nostro Dumas. Okay, that's like Nostradamus, but Nostradamus. Yeah, I think she was actually. Of course, they're natural blue eyes. Who thought that there wasn't? Jesus. Okay. Two groups of the Inquisition contradict each other. One want to find the truth, you mean, and the other want to hide it. That's another topic, I guess. Yeah, grimdark, and that's it. Okay, I reached every comment, I think. Well, thanks for that, Abo. I'm just asking, guys, because I have to know what you guys are interested in. So if you wish me to do any video about any 40k topic, just write it in the comments or in the Discord chat, you know. Okay, let's continue.
The new sphere concept seems fundamental to 40k fiction. Did you conceive it for Titanicus and share the idea with the rest of the Horus Heresy team?
Well, no, I didn't. The Noosphere, which is how I presume it's pronounced, but somebody I'm sure will write in and correct me, it's one of those slightly more esoteric end of things, which is really, really interesting.
Esoteric?
When I was writing Titanicus and I wanted...
Okay, wait. Have to concentrate more on that specific thing.
You had to sort of use them sparingly, and one was enough, or in this case, three was enough. And I think that works really, really well. I think that book is one of the ones that shows the differences and connections between the regular Astra Militarum and the Adeptus Astartes very, very clearly indeed.
Irelia. The new sphere concept seems fundamental to 40k fiction. Did you conceive it for Titanicus and share the idea with the rest of the Horus Heresy team?
Well, no, I didn't. The Noosphere, which is how I presume it's pronounced, but somebody I'm sure will write in and correct me, it's one of those slightly more esoteric end of things, which is really, really interesting. When I was writing Titanicus and I wanted to create the idea of a shared machine language and shared machine consciousnesses, I sort of worked hard to try and think of terminology that worked, and I thought it would be great to borrow that and repurpose it in 40k terms. And one of the things that I found even writing Imperial Guard books, and certainly when I got to Eisenhorn, is there wasn't regular terminology, in-universe terminology, for all sorts of very obvious things, because no one had ever had to write about it before, because it's the sort of things you needed when you're writing a novel, but you don't need when you're playing a game on a tabletop. So I was coining words left, right and centre, just to give myself a vocabulary to use in these books that sounded 40k-esque. I consider it to be my greatest achievement in terms of 40k.
Yeah. So basically he is saying what I was trying to say, that, you know, when a writer has to write whatever it is, he has to be educated on that particular theme topic to a certain extent, so he can translate that to his art, in this case to 40k, so he can, how he said it, to make a terminology for 40k to apply to that world, to the vibe of that world and all of that. So that is essential. He cannot be totally clueless about anything that is, in this case, esoteric, if he's gonna write anything in 40k. That is not to say that, you know, the two things are gonna match. They're just not. Sometimes they do, but for the most part, they don't, because when sometimes something has to work in 40K, that doesn't have to doesn't have to come from the literal definition how it's written in any esoteric literature, which actually there are so many that is also, well, it's very important from where you get that from. But for 40K is not that much, so some basic things he can always get from pretty much everywhere. But yeah, the point is that he does need to have some kind of a base for these things. Okay, that's pretty much it.
See if they entered the Emperor's throne room.
The ultimate
Oh, that's super amazing, super awesome.
truth is probably something quite horrific, sitting on something that vaguely resembles something that used to be a throne but isn't a throne, but is actually just a huge, complicated piece of apparatus with pipes and tubes going everywhere. But even that is doubtful as to actually even if that is there. To me, the most interesting answer to that is that most people who enter the throne room now in 40k would probably last about 4 or 5 seconds before they were killed, just incinerated by the brightness of the light, destroyed by the currents of the warp that are flying around the throne room, irradiated to the point of instant death by the machines that are running there. It is like the heart of a nuclear reactor that has melted down. It's not in any way, shape or form a conventional throne room that you walk into and bow and at the end of the carpet and look up at the throne. It doesn't work like that. It is a mechanism at the heart of a bigger mechanism, at the heart of a bigger mechanism that is the planet Terra. And the notion that there is an emperor sitting on a throne in a throne room is just part of the myth. You know, you've made all the way this pilgrimage of lifetimes to reach the emperor. What is probably happening to them is they're being consumed by the machine. They're just being eaten up. Their souls and everything are being eaten up by the machine. It's not a nice place.
Okay, then how Gilliman was able to speak to the Emperor in some kind of a way, telepathic or not, or, well, it should be telepathic, and get out of there. I mean, he's a primer, he could withstand whatever is there, is an energy warp, whatever it is, light. But still, it kind of sounds very horrific and super strong. In a material sense, it sounds very damaging. So how did he do that? How he just went there, spoke to the Emperor? Maybe he's really, 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 I mean, I know that they are really, really durable, the Primarchs, but still that sounds, yeah, very scary to be there. And who knows how actually it really looks like. But we do know that they took the Emperor's body, I mean, Rogel Dorn did, and put it in the Golden Throne somehow. So maybe then things start to happen. That is, I mean, I feel like this is not really connecting well with my logic, but I mean, from one side makes total sense. From another side, I don't know, because he does say it's like a myth, and that is all well and good, but then the things that I've read, at least so far, seems to be like a fact a lot more than a myth, because in the current 40k timeline, anybody that, well, basically anybody can enter the throne room if they're allowed to. At least that's how I understood it. So maybe that's just wrong. I don't know, but that's one of the things that mostly surprises me from this interview, because I totally get it, but in the same time, I have all of these questions. But how about then if anyone else wanted to enter? It seemed like the custodies or whatever else has to approve the entering of whoever wants to get there. And only certain people, let's say, like Gilliman, can speak with the Emperor. But how is that working then? Interesting. You can guys let me know probably. Superpower to kill with 5 seconds. Hey Drake, hi to you too. Mortal Kombat, yeah. Okay, let's continue.
Particular Thought 38. Did the Cabal survive in some way despite Eldrad Ulthron and Barthuza Neric's series of assassinations of its members? If so, could the Cabal be playing a role in the rise of the Inari?
Wow. I'd like to think they did. The Cabal was an oddly rare example of non-human forces actually trying to do something constructive and positive. In fact, several of the Eldari particularly are often trying to do positive, constructive things, much to the annoyance of mankind and vice versa. So I'd like to think the Cabal do exist in some form, or some legacy of them. There's a lot of institutions in the 40k universe, some of which I have created, that clearly are recurring. They might not necessarily have survived intact all the way through, but the notion and the name has recurred and somebody else has gone, that was a good idea, let's do that again. I suppose like the Druids. The Druids may not have existed, historically speaking, and may have just been an entire invention of Victorian England. But the point is that they were an idea that came back in and people said that let's do this again. So I think the same is true of some of those things, and the same is true of the Cabal.
Can more Adeptus Custodes be created?
Okay, that's an amazing question, but yeah, about the Cabal, that's just great. One of those examples where alien races, they just they're not all bad, of course not. And they did try to do something constructive, but yeah, we know what happened after that. But at least I'm happy that there were and they are such. But yeah, humanity just has to get a bit more wiser, learn how to work with them for the betterment of everybody. But this is 40k, so that's probably not gonna happen. Continuing.
By what means are they made?
I believe they can still be made in 40k universe. I don't think it's been said they can't. I don't think they are a finite supply that's diminishing. They certainly aren't made in great numbers. They are a very precious resource. We know from the 30k era, from the Horus Heresy era and the Unification War, the Great Crusade, that they are far, far more than Astartes. Astartes are almost like the cheap bulk version created by a much simpler, cruder process that only begin to approximate the degree of the build quality of Custodes, to the point where it's said that the Custodes aren't even necessarily purely genetic creations, but they are something slightly more metaphysical. They have almost everything about them has been perfected in all sorts of weird ways. What that means is that they are immensely expensive to produce, not just financially expensive, which doesn't seem to matter in 40k universe, but in terms of time, effort, resources, special things. It takes so much to make a Custodes, which is why they are comparatively few of them, and why they are given such a special task, and also I think why they feel so frustrated, because if they are almost as godlike as Primarchs, they feel they should be out there doing amazing things, and they basically are posted as sentries. The best soldiers in the universe are kept as sentries. So we know that they are very special. There is more than just a mechanical, surgical, genetic process that results in a Custodes. So that's a good enough answer that I can give for that.
Yeah, that is pretty cool, and also it does contribute to the other question: who's gonna win, the Knights or Custodes, the Grey Knights or Custodes? And yeah, that is why the Custodes are gonna win. They're just totally different fabric of a soldier, let's say. Oh, and hi to the other guys in the chat. Oh, you're a jerk with the face. Well, hi to you then, Engelurkt, if I, read your name right. Ahoy to you, yes. Thank you for this, for letting me know. So, we are here and we are doing it. Yeah, I love the Custodes too. Once again, I'm gonna return to all of the comments that I missed. But let's get into the rest of the awesome questions and answers.
Was Garviel Loken a founding member of the Grey Knights?
That's a good question. If you really, really, really know your lore, there are enough clues already for you to have answered that question by now. That's all I'm saying.
Who is your favorite Chaos God? And why is it Nurgle?
They're very straightforward, these guys.
The Chaos Gods are not gods. They are enormous, concentrated saturations of warp energy within the Imperium that embody certain personalities and therefore give the semblance that to all intents and purposes they are to us gods, but they are not gods. And it wouldn't be that. It wouldn't be Nurgle. It would probably be Slanesh. I like my weekends. What can I say?
Okay, I really want to talk about this now because in the beginning, when I started with 40K and I went through Bricky's videos about all the factions, the human and the alien and all of that, and he spoke about chaos, and I didn't know that much about 40K back then. So basically my analysis was like from an outside perspective, how things sounded to me that they are. So I basically speculated on what things could be, and that was the interesting thing, how things look from the outside based on my previous knowledge about a lot of things. One of those things, of course, being the esoteric base that I also have. So back then, I said that the way that the chaos gods were written and presented in terms of powers, how they act, how they manifest in terms of powers and their nature, how they express themselves in general, how they, have their influence on the materium and on people in general, Primarchs, whatever, all that they are basically. And I did say then, if anyone remembers that, well, those videos are all on my 40K playlist on the channel. If anyone is interested, how I got into 40K and just, go grew from there. And those Bricky video streams are actually one of the first ever that I've done about anything 40K. So basically what I said then was that they're not written as gods, but they're written mostly as like a higher level versions of demons because of the way they act. Because usually if you come from, well, if you study anything that is esoteric by nature, and him and other writers come from there when they also write their stories, you see that those characteristics of such beings are in the category of demons. They are not in the category of gods because they deal with very ugly and horrific and disgusting evils that are, very direct. Like Nurgle is decaying and everything that he is, the disgusting things, Korn is the blood and the total carnage and all of that. Slanesh is the sex and the excesses of all kinds of pleasure and all of that. Zinch is the guy that is the god of change, but also he's lying through his teeth, manipulation, all of that, all of those things, they might seem like the most basic of evils, but they're also very disgusting and horrifying. But if you come from, the theosophy, theology, all of those matters, let's call them, you'll know that those are characteristics usually, that are that lower level demons have them, and not the higher ones, not the bosses of the bosses, those that are and the higher ups, they do not deal with those things. They deal with the bigger picture and with the bigger manipulation of like human development. They have their own thoughts and ideas of how humans should develop, which is contradictory to the good forces. So the demons that are dealing with the most disgusting things are exactly the demons and the lower level demons. They're not the gods at all. So yeah, based on that, I made this explanation for how the chaos gods seem to me, and it's very interesting that he also said it, that they are not gods. They are gods compared to us because we have no such. We're just not on that level. We do not have such a. Of course. I mean, some people, humans have like psychic abilities, and okay, those are abilities. But compared to the gods, they're really not, almost not comparable at all. It's just the beginning, the seed of something that the chaos gods can do even without thinking about it, let's say. So in that line of thought, we are like here and they're like somewhere. So when you compare the two, humans and chaos gods, then the chaos gods seem like gods. But in the reality of things and the the hierarchies, they are not objectively gods. They're just compared to us, let's say. So that's just very cool that he said it because he knows his stuff. I guess at least to an extent that's enough to write the books. And that's really interesting. Okay, I just wanna like go back a bit to see if I missed something.
So we know that they are very special. There is more than just a mechanical surgical.
Oh yeah, that was about the stories. I brought it back too much.
That's all I'm saying.
Who is your favorite Chaos God?
Oh, yeah.
And why is it Nurgle?
The Chaos Gods are not gods. They are enormous concentrated saturations of warp energy within the Imperium.
And that is actually a very good explanation about them too. That they are expressing certain things. I mean, each of them is a representation of a certain disgusting thing, let's say.
That embody certain personalities and therefore give the semblance. To all intents and purposes, they are to us gods, but they are not gods. And it wouldn't be that. It wouldn't be Nurgle. It would probably be Slanesh. I like my weekends. What can I say?
Yeah, I mean, in that kind of way, I never thought who would be my favorite. I said Korn because somebody did ask me at some point who was my favorite. I said Korn just because he was the warrior type at least. And I'm not one for excesses of any kind because that is just losing total control over yourself. So I'm not a fan of that in any kind of a capacity. A lot more about control and focusing your energy where it's supposed to go. So the least, like, I mean, they're all horrible, but at least, Korn is about being a, well, bloodthirsty warrior, obviously, and killing bloodshed and skulls and all of that, but at least he is like the god of war as much as he can get close to that image. So if I have to pick one least evil, although that doesn't actually mean that he's the least, but if I just have to pick one, I would just say him.
Say.
What does the Emperor truly look like?
Oh, this is an amazing question. Okay, let's hear it.
The Emperor presents himself, like any good god should, in the form that is most useful to him to get across. You think about the Greek gods appearing as rams and snakes and all that kind of stuff because they want to pull a fast one or they want to trick somebody or whatever like that. The Emperor is the same. What he looks like is unknown to everybody. What he appears as and manifests as is as appropriate to the circumstance. That manifestation, particularly post-Unification War, that manifestation has had to be godlike. It has to be as the Emperor. He has had to command respect. So the commonly perceived image of him that we see in paintings, the golden figure on the throne, the sort of westernized emperor, and the idea of saints and all of that kind of stuff, all the religious trappings that have gone through into 40k are almost like a necessary psychological defense to keep the people of the 40k universe sane in the light of the things that they see occasionally and the things that they historically have seen in great profusion. And it speaks to the fact the Emperor is probably not around as much as he'd like to be, that he hasn't done anything about it. Or if he is around as much as he'd like to be and he is genuinely watching over everybody in a kind of higher psychic way, maybe he has come to the conclusion that what I said earlier on, he is what he needs to be. Maybe he's realised that what he needs to be now is a god, that people, the only way for humanity to survive is to trust in something divine above them, because otherwise, with the rise of chaos, everything would be too horrible to bear and everything would be collapsing overnight. It is not definitively official, because again, it's one of those things that strays into the mystery box we don't talk about. But I know it is headcanon shared by most of the key writers, and I believe therefore it makes it semi-official.
Sound.
Oh my gosh, okay, there are so many things here. So many things here. Okay, let me go back a bit.
Much as he'd like to be, and he is genuinely watching over everybody that we see in paintings, the ghost him to get across. You think about the Greek gods appearing as rams and...
So yeah, first of all, it's another thing that we talked about before, that everybody sees the emperor the way that they can, or the way that he wants them to see him, which, yeah, I mean, I think that goes without saying. And when we talked about, the last church, the way that he first appeared to Oriah, and directly steering his life towards the creation of this belief, I mean, the creation of this religion that worships the emperor, although he didn't know that that was the emperor. But the point is that he did appear to Oriah on purpose in that way. He didn't just do that because it's how he looks. He did that so he can put Oriah in his life, I mean, to this life path, and then collect him later for his purposes. That is, to me at least, what happened, because the emperor just not gonna appear like that and looking like a god if he doesn't want to be perceived as god. I mean, if you don't want to be perceived as god and you can change your appearance, obviously, then you're so powerful that you can appear in whatever way you want. Why would you appear like a god if you don't want to be seen as one? Like, why would you do that? It's ridiculous and naive to think that, well, at least to me, like I've said, you can have, of course, your own view. At least to me, it is naive to think that the emperor just did that because you don't know. No, because he wanted to do it on purpose, and he did it. And then he knew who Uriah was, went to him and was like, "Would you like to talk, in front of other planets when we get to conquer the universe, so we can convince them that I'm the best thing since sliced bread and we can go and conquer." I mean, you can just convince everybody and we don't actually have to go to war, at least with those that are convinced, because Uriah was so devoted that he is just qualified for this job, like perfectly qualified, because he is talking with the best conviction ever, because he's really believing in what he's talking about. Anyway, already talked about that, but the point is that, yeah, the emperor, he did say that he's a god, but at the same time it's not like confirmed. That also what Dan said. Okay, but it's still contradictory, the whole thing. It still is to a certain extent. Let's continue.
Snakes and all that kind of stuff, because they want to pull a fast one, or they want to trick somebody, whatever like that. The emperor is the same. What he looks like is unknown to everybody. What he appears as and manifests as is as appropriate to the circumstance.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said, but I just don't remember in what video was it. It was a few months ago that, his appearance is based on the impression that he wants to make on whoever is in front of him, So, yeah. And that is logical, because he knows, at least to some extent, the psychology behind the people that are looking at him in that particular situation, whatever that situation is. So he can present himself in a way that will convey his message or his intent in conversation or whatever that is happening there. So that is totally logical. And a lot of people have preconceived notions about gods and how gods are supposed to be looking like. So let's say if in our myths and legends, gods appeared in in certain way, big light and wings, and he can just do that because he knows that that's like in our minds already. So it makes total sense from that point of view.
That manifestation, particularly post-Unification War, that manifestation has had to be godlike. It has to be as the Emperor. He has had to command respect. So the commonly perceived image of him that we see in paintings, the golden figure on the throne, the the sort of westernized emperor and the idea of saints and all of that kind of stuff, all the religious trappings that have gone through into 40k are almost like a necessary psychological defense to keep the people of the 40k.
Yeah, that's all well and good. I mean, but in the same time, he was still saying, but there's not should be a religion. I hate religions. Religions are bad for everybody. In the same time, everything that he did led to the formation of a religion and the saints manifestations as well after the heresy, and just everything led to a religion. And it was obvious from the very first moments that that's gonna happen, because it was what he's doing. Because yeah, all of his manifestations and whatever he did and spoke and all of that were saying directly, I am a freaking god on earth. I am god amongst men. I freaking am. And I mean, that is what he was saying through his actions and appearance and all of that. In the same time, he's like, no religions, I'm not a god. Logar, you son, you're delusional son. I'm not actually a god son. And all of that. So huge contradiction, like going on and on and on and on. It's like me, well, what what analogy to make? Okay, I'm not wearing this black blouse. I'm just not. I'm not. No, it's white. It's actually white. I'm telling you, it's white. That is what I believe in, that it's white. But it's freaking black, okay? But no. It is white, guys. Okay, never mind. That just, you gotta take it with humor, just funny to me. Anyway, I'm gonna get to your comments, guys. I promise. We have a bit more of this video and then we're gonna discuss.
Universe sane in the light of the things that they see occasionally and the things that they historically have seen in great profusion. And it speaks to the fact that the Emperor is probably not around as much as he'd like to be, that he hasn't done anything about it. Or if he is around as much as he'd like to be and he is genuinely watching over everybody in a kind of higher psychic way, maybe he has come to the conclusion that what I said earlier on, he is what he needs to be. Maybe he's realised that what he needs to be now is a god, that people, the only way for humanity to survive.
I don't know how much time that took him. I mean, maybe, yeah, he decided, okay, well, everybody thinks that I'm a god, so let's just continue with that. He can always say that and do that, but the question still remains, why didn't he do that initially and officially, but he has to hammer down that he's not a god and punish Logar, and Logar had to turn against him and worship chaos instead of him. Like, so many things happen, you know.
Is to trust in something divine above them, because otherwise, with the rise of chaos, everything would be too horrible to bear and everything would be collapsing overnight. It is not definitively official, because again, it's one of those things that strays into the mystery box we don't talk about. But I know it is headcanon shared by most of the key writers.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that is all well and good, but it doesn't explain the contradiction. It doesn't just explain the contradiction, you know. It just says one part of the mystery box, but it doesn't explain the other part. That is just so obvious that it just screams.
And I believe, therefore, it makes it semi-official.
Soundwave 11. How much planning went into the big reveal in your novel Penitent? How vast will the repercussions be not only inside your works, but for the wider lore?
I have been planning it for a long time. A long time. I had to get permission to do it. It's been a secret thing. It's been on a need-to-know basis only. Only a few select personnel have been allowed to know this until it actually came out. I'm not going to spoil it, except to say, yes, there is a huge twist. There are quite a lot of huge twists, actually, but there's one particularly huge twist in it. It's going to have massive ramifications for, if nothing else, for the third book in the series, Pandemonium, which is due, and it will probably have great ramifications for the Eisenhorn Inquisitor series, and I think it will probably, in the long run, have massive implications for the universe as a whole. I quite like the fact that we can sneak a big twist like that into what appears to be a subsidiary story thread. I think is really fun because I think it made it twice as unexpected.
Okay, that's very interesting, but I have not gone yet to those later novels. So yeah, before the show comes up as well, you know, Eisenhorn have to at least go through Eisenhorn and maybe some other novels around that. But for now, I have to go like in order. But I'm very interested about that, what he's saying, because this is gonna probably define the future of 40K. So yeah, I have to get on that as soon as possible. But it doesn't make any sense to skip the other books. So yeah, I'm gonna just try to maybe go through 2 or 3 novels a month. That's gonna be kind of hard, even though I'm listening to them in audio form, but still, we'll see, guys. But I do have time till Eisenhorn, so whatever I can get in till then, like 10 more books at least, that's still gonna be something.
Which is your favorite traitor legion? And why is it the Night Lords?
Yeah, that's another question towards you guys. Which is your favorite traitor legion?
Every single one of these, no matter what, you're getting the wrong ones every single time. My favourite traitor legion is the Sons of Horus, aka the Black Legion as they became, because they are. First of all, I feel a great bond to them, having written Horus Rising and set that all in motion, but also because I think they've got the most interesting things going on with them. There's a wonderful arc of tragedy. They're not just like cackling villains. They've got this extraordinary thing going on. So yeah, sorry, it's not the Night Lords. Night Lords are cool. Love the Night Lords, but you know.
Okay. I'm not sure. Who is my favorite traitor legion? I mean, the fact that Magnus is my favorite traitor Primarch doesn't mean that his legion are my favorite, so let's think about that. I've read mostly about the Night Lords, actually. But, you know, I haven't got through all of them. Alpha Legion, not really. I'm kinda a bit more going towards the Night Lords just because their omnibus series of books are the first that I, went through. And those characters there are pretty interesting. And they are not the typical chaos, brainwashed Marines. So, okay, I'm gonna go for now at least with the Night Lords.
Who is your favorite Primarch? And why is it Ferrus Manus?
Those guys assume a lot. I mean, in the meantime, you just can write in the comments who is your favorite traitor legion, but favorite Primarch. Okay, let's see what he says.
My absolute favourite is Rogel Dawn because he's just so stoic, and he ran that campaign. He is the epitome of the precise general. I would love writing him as a character. I love what he does at the Siege of Terror, and the fact that he's just like tries to outgame everything that's happening, even when it is literally he's playing sort of with chaos mathematics, and he can't. It all becomes unpredictable and the uncertainty principle, and he's still going, no, we can do this. I just need a bigger chessboard. I think that's fantastic, and that's why I love him.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, it's hard to say at the moment. I would say Sanguinius, just because, well, he is like one of the most purest. He has wings, and he reminds me of a Greek statue and an angel, obviously. Archangel, actually. Yeah, I would say Sanguinius, at least for now, but I can always change my opinion. I mean, I like everyone for their separate qualities, but that just that, the Primarchs have some qualities that are good and bad, and the good are not really that balanced. They're much more in one particular direction. Like Rogel Dorn, he's a bit dry in the ways that he thinks sometimes. I mean, he's very driven, which is great, but sometimes that comes out as old, like an old guy that just is not with the times, you can say. It depends on what you prefer in terms of what are they defined by. So out of all of them, there are quite a lot. Well, I also really like Ferris. but he's just not as good and as sanguineous in terms of the purity factor and just, yeah, well, and he's the most handsome, I think. Well, um, okay, I'm just lost in the Primarchs right now, so I'm just gonna say sanguineous for now, and that's it. You guys also tell me in the comments, and I'm gonna check in a moment. We're kind of done. Oh no, we're not kind of done. We have 7 more minutes to this interview.
With so many shared threats, what prevents the Imperium, Eldar, and Tau factions from working together?
Underlying tragedy is one of the fundamental rubrics of the 40k universe, though, surely. I mean, let's face it, it is based originally on a tabletop game where you were meant to field armies against each other. So the idea of maintaining those distinctions and rivalries is vastly important. And if it was too easy for people to become allies, it would weaken the mechanics of the basic game. So that's an important thing to remember. But also, it shows how difficult these things are. The human race in 40k universe is kind of the worst version of ourselves. They are massively intolerant towards everything that isn't perceived as being normal human. The common ground can't be found very often. One of the things I deliberately did in the recent Gaunt's Ghost novels is actually really show how the humans on the Chaos side of the war, who they've been battling now for 15 novels and 1.5 million words, they are so similar, except that their fundamental basis of what they understand as a starting place are diametrically opposed. They've both been trained to hate the other. And that is a sadness of the human state in the Warhammer universe.
Exactly, and like we many times we spoken about this, let's not forget that this is a tabletop game, so Games Workshop do not really has any interest to make it lighter or for races to come together. So even though something something may be wiser to do, like have these alliances and all of that and work against chaos, just not good for the freaking tabletop game. So it's essential for the structure of the game, like he said. It just, in the end of the day, GW has to look after that. So that's kind of priority, over any types of logic and wisdom.
Will the Emperor of Mankind reincarnate if he dies?
Amazing question. Okay, after this question, totally going to recap your comments and then continue.
Well, it's very, very difficult. The Emperor is functionally immortal and seems to be all but invulnerable to the very highest levels of damage that could be applied by, say, the living avatar of Chaos, as is likely to happen at the end of the Siege of Terror. You think the end of the Siege of Terror is bad. You have no idea how horrible and traumatic it is. We all know, mythologically speaking, the Emperor ends up at death's door, having been seriously damaged in the final confrontation. We know that. And there is a distinct possibility that, very much like, I don't know, an incarnation of Doctor Who, that he has suffered so grievously from his wounds, he would reincarnate, perpetual style, and come back as the next version, played by a different actor probably, the different version of the Emperor, who would then take over. But he thinks the Golden Throne is important to this, so allegedly he insists that he is put on the Golden Throne to keep him alive. There is a vice versa thing there, because he also needs to go back on the Golden Throne to keep the Golden Throne alive. So there is that aspect. So it's quite possible, and this adds to the tragedy and trauma of what the Emperor's become, is that he's been trapped on the Golden Throne, bonded to it forever, because people think they're doing him a favour to save his life. But what he's actually doing is dying and reincarnating over and over and over and over again for 10,000 years just to keep the whole system running, which is agonising and horrible. No wonder he's the corpse god on this throne. So yeah, again, we're straying into the realms of what actually is the truth. Can't tell you, it's a bit of a mystery. But there are certainly enough things about the lore there that we know, so we can speculate about the true horror of the situation.
Oh yeah, that is amazing. A lot of people actually speculated about this exact thing, that if he is a perpetual, I mean he is regenerating, but because of the Golden Throne he can't actually fully regenerate, and he is continuously in that circle of absolute agony. This is just horrible freaking. And if he was like released from the Golden Throne, maybe he's just gonna finally be able to fully recover. Although he does have to hold things together in the same time, maybe he's gonna be able to do that in the last second. Let's say he recovers. He is like his fuller self, and things start to fall apart because for 1 second he's not powering anything. But then because he just recovered, he's gonna, take control somehow. That's so freaking interesting. Like honestly, but it is in the realm of where actually is the truth yet, and I hope that they can bring him back somehow, some way in the future. I personally want that because it's gonna be so interesting to see how he's gonna take things from there. Will he pick up where he left off? Will that that Cabal prophecy is gonna keep coming true, or he's gonna somehow, some way, bring that cycle to a halt, or just break the cycle of feeding chaos, and ultimately, finally, have this plan to change things and you know, to just reverse the prophecy somehow. That is very interesting. And we can still have all the wars and all the Warhammer tabletop things that still should be there in terms of armies. They can bring up other races, who knows? Just continue from there. And, Games Workshop can still have all of that dynamic. These versus these and all of that, but we will have the Emperor on top, so that's gonna be awesome. Okay, let's try to see what your guys are saying, and then we have 4 minutes and 57 seconds from the interview yet to discuss. And after that, of course, I'm gonna be back to your comments so we can talk directly somehow. I missed a lot that you said, so let me just try to read what you were talking about. Yeah, I get it totally. But since then, I made a lot of 40K videos. But it's great that you found this because I was not subscribed to this channel, so I probably will not see this interview. Well, at least somebody else sends it, but for sure, maybe I won't found it anytime soon. That's a very good question, Apple, but I don't think that there's an answer for that yet. Who's pulling their strings? I haven't seen anyone higher. I mean, the universe either has to have that, or just they can say, well, there's not really anybody above, but I mean, that is just their personal choice. They can always say that and work in the context of 40K, And hi to Michael. Hi to you too. Well, as he said, sorry, he is proposing some ideas, and Games Workshop has to say, yeah, you can do that, you can do this. But that also means that a lot of what we have as story and lore is because of him. It just it will go as far as his ideas are either approved or not, so he can develop them. And when he speaks, of course, with the other writers, that's also a factor. But he's writing a lot of the novel, so if we can owe something to him, we can basically say that we owe almost everything on his writing and his ideas. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, we can be here like 2 hours and just discuss about all the gods and what they are and what they represent, but all their positive, just how to say this. Okay, their positive effects on humanity are means to an end, and that means to an end means that if you, let's say, are developing courage, and that is promoted by corn, then this courage is gonna be used for you to go into somebody's house and butcher them. Let's say you're gonna be brave enough to have the courage to go and butcher them, but it means to an end. That is what all of those qualities are used for. And that is a way to develop also the human race, encourage them to develop certain qualities that at first glance seem good, but what if they're good if I mean what are they good really for? They're good for also bad things. You can redirect them towards all kinds of horrible actions. Because when you do that, you do feed the gods, feed their whatever agenda they have. You do you do that. So there's this factor to consider. Well, if there's Catan more powerful than the Chaos Gods, the Catan seem actually what I would consider pretty damn up there. But I haven't seen direct comparisons with them and the Chaos Gods, so I can't really, you know, yeah, I can't really say anything about that. I have to do a ton of research to be sure of what comparison I can make or not make. Yeah. Ivy, that's hilarious. Oh, so we have the same opinion for about corn if we have to choose apple. Okay, that's interesting. Well, yeah, you can say that he is honest, but when he plans his acts, okay, but he is killing you at the end of the day. He is doing what he wants, and the end effect is pretty fatal for you. So he gets what he wants, but you don't. You're on the losing end. It's not like when Superman in the Justice League Snyder Cut, freaking damn it. I'm in the 40K mindset, so I'm starting to forget other things. But yeah, when Steppenwolf hit Superman with the axe, and he was like, not impressed. That's Superman, but the rest of the people, that axe just go through them like butter, so not gonna be good to be on that receiving end. Yeah, of course they made their own demons. That's kind of the point that we were talking about. Well, thanks, dear Ivy. But like I've said, I do not wear I do not wear a black blouse actually. It is white. Oh my gosh. He looks like Conan. I know a lot of people compare him to Conan, but at least in most cases, the Emperor is described to be very handsome, which once again is a great way to present yourself if you want to make a big impression and if you want to condition people to think of you as a god. So he has to be as handsome as possible, where Conan is a lot of times depicted as just very, manly, rugged, but not handsome per se. Uh, Although, Arnold was well, pretty handsome back then. That's another topic, guys. We're gonna be here too long. Oh no, like Gollum. No, 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 no. Yeah, nobody's gonna respect him if he looked like Gollum. He knows very well how the human mind works, even subconsciously. He should not look like somebody that looks like Gollum. No matter how much you like Gollum. That is, you like him for different reasons, not because he looks like that. But although I don't understand how anybody can like really Gollum, because he's literally pathetic. That is why he looks like this. He became distorted and totally lost his human form because of his character and lack of qualities and being pathetic overall. So yeah, but I guess a lot of people like Gollum for some reason. Freaked out about giant man in a golden power armor. Well, he wasn't always like this, you know. He only became that with this appearance when he actually decided to step up and take control and take the power, so to speak. He looks like Henry Cavill. Okay. Um, Conrad Curse. Okay. It should be Henry Cavill. I mean, some people do say Cavill, but I'm sure it's Cavill. I have to see how he pronounces his name because that's gonna be for sure, you know. Oh, I haven't seen him play tabletop, but he is a gamer. He is a gamer. Robin Williams? Wait. Really? I never knew that about him. But yeah, he was amazing. I will never forget Mrs. Doubtfire, amongst of course Jumanji and other movies. Really, we are getting off topic here, so I'm gonna quickly finish your comments and then continue after we finish with the interview. That's not explanation, Michael, because he was not presenting himself as a powerful man. He was presenting himself freaking as a freaking god. I mean, there's a difference, and he literally embodied what people imagined as a god. I mean, what people imagined a god. Yeah, if you imagine how a god will be presenting itself and looking like, that is the emperor. And even his voice didn't sound like a normal human being. Even the Primarch's voices are described as a song or as something that is above and beyond anything that you can actually perceive. And everybody were like floored, absolutely floored with how their voices sounded, let alone the emperor's voice. So a powerful man is one thing, but he embodied a god-like image, and he was on earth for thousands of years. So he goddamn and surely knows how the people will perceive him. He has to be ridiculously dumb to not know what this is gonna become in terms of perception of him and effect. Even now, I mean, if now somebody can just manifest themselves in the room glowing and being like 3 meters tall, you're probably gonna be like, I'm either going crazy or this is God. So, most people are gonna just reach that conclusion right away. That is mostly because of people's knowledge about these things, which is extremely limited, and it's because of all the myths and legends. And yeah, I mean, if your knowledge is only based on myths and legends, you can believe a lot of things are godly, you know. So there's that, and he counted on the lack of objective knowledge from people. Okay. No, we don't know about when Eisenhorn is gonna appear. I mean, I think it should have been this year, but with the pandemic and all, I'm not really sure. Okay, the salamanders. Oh, salamanders, they're one of the greatest. I mean, I like them. The Luna Wolves too, but those are not trade legions. Okay, Iron Warriors. Okay, yeah, those are one of those that are pretty pronounced. Don't mind me. Thousand Suns, yeah. Okay. Okay, I have to catch up with all the other comments because they just piled up to this point. I saw like so many more that I have to get to. Hi, Patrick. So let's finish the interview, guys, and then we're gonna discuss.
How were the Primarchs named?
Oh, that's so
A
interesting.
lot of these things were being grown organically and they were invented on the hoof. And I cannot believe that the Primarchs I've no basis for saying this, but I can't believe the Primarchs were not invented out of the names of someone's mate, or a combination of the names of two people over there, or a conversation in the pub, or that sort of thing. Because we know that a lot of these really simple things came out of exactly the sort of anecdotal, fun conversations that friends have when they are doing a hobby together, when they're wargaming or they're playing role-playing games. And something, they call a character something because that's a fun name to call them, and then it sticks and becomes canon, and that's the way it works. It is true to say that the fundamental origin of the Horus Heresy, which is, that is say, a civil war that racks the universe, was originally down to the fact that they were making the original Titanicus game, and it was incredibly expensive to produce the Titan models for the game, so they could only afford to make one set of molds. They couldn't make two rival armies that looked different. And in order to try and make it a functional game, all they did was they cast two sets from the same molds in different colours. And when somebody said, well, why were they fighting each other? They're the same thing. Somebody said, oh, there was a terrible war where they fought each other. And that was it. That was just the explanation for why that game had to be that. This is in the really early days. That's the way it had to be like that. From that, then somebody said, well, what was the war called? And somebody else went, Horus Heresy. And it just added to. And then and like a boulder rolling downhill, it starts to accrete stuff around it, and then it becomes mythology. And then that mythology grows and becomes bigger, and then it becomes colour text in the back of books, and it becomes mentioned over here, and then somebody mentioned, and that's the way you get it. Essentially, the Horus Heresy was a throwaway remark like the Clone Wars. It was just a thing. Just to give you a bit of colour. And now look at us, 67 novels later.
Yeah, well, if that is true, is pretty amazing, actually, to think about. So that's how one of the best ideas are born. It's fascinating to me. It is very fascinating.
What will happen if the Astronomicon and the Golden Throne fail?
The issues you're talking about there, the operation of the Golden Throne, which is mysterious, the function of the Astronomicon, which ultimately is mysterious. What happens when the Golden Throne fails, which is ultimately mysterious. These are all things that if they ever happen, there won't be a Warhammer 40k anymore. There won't be a Warhammer full stop. The universe will end. But these are obviously enormously important issues to the universe, and this is the place where they matter the most. So I'm actually, as a grown man who ought to know better, have spent hours on Skype and Zoom in the last few months talking to other grown men who ought to know better, discussing things like, how does the Astronomicon actually work? More interestingly, how do you kickstart the Astronomicon if it's shut down? What do you need? How does the Golden Throne actually work? What is its process of operation? All those sorts of things. All these questions that in terms of lore never need to be answered, but this weirdly is the moment when they do. Even if I then don't put it into the book in every detail that we've worked out, I need to know in order to make the plot work. And we're making sense of these sorts of things. We're saying, what is the event horizon of the stuff that we can admit? We can work out a logical explanation for all of these things, but what is the event horizon? Once we've laid that out so we can write, what is the event horizon at which we stop and say, we're not going to tell you any more than that. We know more than that. We're not going to tell you any more than that, but everything we've up to that point that we can tell you is informed by the unknown that exists beyond that.
That is very key. That is so key. So whenever you're writing something, you're creating whatever it is, story, you do have to know actually a lot more behind it so you can write your story off of that base. So that is amazing and it's very key. You always have to have it in mind when you do analysis of any types of literature, because you have to read between the lines. Even if they do not say something explicitly, there is some kind of a explanation about everything, because because they have to write a story with that in mind. But if you read between the lines, then you can trace that to the source, to that base, and kind of figure out, or at least sort of have some kind of idea of how things are written and what they're about and how that base is. So it's extremely fascinating for me as well. Because whenever you create something, you always know more about that something. It's not only what people can see, it's always more behind that. Otherwise you cannot create the thing, So have this in mind. Never presume that you know everything, but you just, try to read between the lines. Try to think as the writers do. That is usually what helps revealing a lot of the stuff that are not explicitly said, or at least you're going to be on a right track to some extent.
Which sounds like a very pretentious way of doing it, but it's the only way you can tackle things of this kind of ridiculous scale. And that is true of the Golden Throne. It's true of the Astronomicon. So if the fundamentals of that ruin then fell apart, if the last couple of bricks holding the wall up, the Golden Throne and the Astronomicon, if they failed, that's it. All bets are off, and there would be nothing. The rest would be heat death of the universe and silence. It would well, there'd be a lot of shouting for a short while, but it would be the heat death of the universe and silence, and that would be it. You're talking about fundamental building bricks of a fictional universe, and you pull those out, and everything else just topples.
Yeah. It's so cool.
I think one of the great things about Warhammer, really, is the fact that you can do so many things with it. You can read the books, you can play the game, you can paint your armies, you can listen to the audio. It means that people can come to the universe in the way they want to and engage their imagination and creativity with it the way they want to. Thank you for your questions. I'd like to thank all the 40k fans on Reddit and on the Ars Technica forums for a brilliant set of questions that I really enjoyed answering. I hope you've learned something, because I certainly have.
Yes. Awesomeness. So yeah, as I said, guys, the video is down below. You can check it in his fullest glory. So that was pretty amazing, pretty fascinating. I didn't expect some of the key questions that I personally tackled before, and like I said initially when I started with 40k, were actually be answered. That with the Custodes versus the Green Knights, Grey Knights, sorry. I'm thinking about that Green Knight trailer from the other day. That uh, Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur movie. But yeah, guys, let's see now if I missed. Well, I did miss a lot, so let's see what your guys are saying before I can go here. I hope that you enjoy this, by the way. Oh well, you you do have some very cool, interesting conversations between yourselves, as I can see here. Okay. Sanguinius, because he is the Optimus Prime of Primarchs, but they have a soft spot for Corax due to TTS. Well, yeah, I mean, TTS has its own spins on the lore and the Emperor especially, and everything else. And actually, it does speak with a lot of sarcasm, for I mean how he is taking names, kicking ass. I mean, how he's doing things and how he's treating the Primarchs and his relationship with Magnus. They cannot address everything, but obviously they did hit some interesting points. So I do like their spin, because through comedy you can actually talk about a lot of stuff that some people maybe will not think about, so they can still address them and be funny about it. They're awesome. I just can't wait for the next episode. But Mr. Amphibusa just had a kid, as far as I saw on Twitter, so he's gonna be busy with that quite a while, I suppose. About Perturabo, personally, I'm not a fan. He's like filled with complexes, you can say. So should be Biggie happy with all the lives sacrificed to keep him alive? Well, if you connect that to what what Dan said, basically those lives are kind of like keeping the circle of him being trapped in the golden throne and preventing him from really reincarnating. Sorry. So those souls are kind of like contradictory. I mean, they're working against the Emperor's real living opportunity. That is just how you can connect it. I don't know. I'm just suggesting this, as an idea, just the first thing that comes to my mind when you brought it up. Yeah, and those are psychers, which actually, in that case, makes even more sense because he does need powerful individuals to keep that circle going. So, those thousand psychers are psychers, they're not just people. Yeah, that's a good thing to note. Yeah, Malkador just hold the things as much as he could before he vaporized. Yeah, we know that. Spider-Man, okay. Well, if you talk about Spider-Man, you do know that he has multiverse aspects to his story. Madam Web and the how was this guy? Hmm, I'm thinking about the animations. Anyway, I don't want to get off topic, but yeah, Spider-Man actually has very layered story in terms of the dimensions, different Spider-Mans, and a lot of mysteries that he dealt with that I never thought that he would, because he seems like very city level hero, but that he actually went into space and other dimensions and he did all of those things. It's interesting. It cannot compare with 40K. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's not just like Spider-Man swinging from this building to the next. It's a lot more actually. Hmm. Well, they can come up with any army basically if they want to. Huh, that's an interesting question. Could Vulcan do it? Interesting, yeah. He's a perpetual. Hmm. I don't know. I mean, for how long he can do it? Can he do it? Because he also has to be a very, very powerful psyker, I guess. It's interesting to think about, yeah. Yeah, maybe Magnus, but he's not a perpetual. He is durable, but it's an interesting question, really. Maybe he's not gonna be as fried. Okay. The Primarchs are supposed to encapsulate aspects of the Emperor, so they should have popped Vulcan on the glitter chair. We can kind of only speculate because I think that they can come up with a lot of rules of how the Golden Throne actually works and why it works with the Emperor but not with anybody else. They can also always add on to that, so we can only just speculate, really. I have not heard of such story, Michael, about Magnus, that he was supposed to be there. How he was already a trader Primarch, so I don't know about that. Well, Warhammer and Warhammer 40K actually talked about that. They are separate universes, but they still coexist, like a parallel universes. And chaos is the one thing that is the same in both because, chaos can transcend those universes, dimensions. They can exist in both, but they also manifest kind of different ways in both. But the fact that Warhammer exists and Warhammer 40K exists, that is like a fact. They do not coexist in terms of like they're not intertwined, but they're separate and still coexist. Yeah, that is kind of like confirmed from other things and some. Mm, I forgot his name, but it was like a demon prince or something that is seen in both universes. I covered this like a month ago. Just now, the name it escapes me at the moment. Damn it! Oh, it's here on the playlist, 40K playlist on the channel. So that's a great way of putting it, dear Ivy. Yes, Emperor of mankind, not self. You're awesome in front of the mirror. You're awesome and gorgeous. And yeah, let's start the day. Yeah, that's gonna be hilarious. You know, that's gonna fit perfectly in TTS. They should do that. It's gonna be awesome. Yeah. Okay, let's. Okay. Yeah, that watch. Okay, Patrick. You can find articles online. Okay, that's interesting. Cavill plays Custodes, and Vin plays Blood Angel. Vin Diesel is Blood Angel? That could work. He burnt Eldar child alive, really? I had no idea. I mean, I haven't gotten to all the details about him yet. For one of the Primarchs, his name came from the nickname of a bouncer the GW staff went to? Bouncer of a club, really? That is hilarious. Well, some of their names are like Greco-Roman in how they sound, so I love the names though. And Horus is Egyptian god, basically, you know. My Vulcan named after god of a forge makes sense. Okay, if the throne ever failed, Chaos would take Terra and yeah, and then the universe. The entire universe is also around the Golden Throne. Basically, it's what Dan also said. Please, with duct tape. With duct tape, bowling wire, and chewing gum at this point. Amazing. Amazing. The big glitter disco chair. Or I'm gonna get a visit from the Inquisition. Call it what you will, I say. Yeah. Well, thanks, Apple. Thank you. What is that? Warhams? Warhams? Bellacore. Thank you, Jake. Yeah, I was talking about him. Yeah, he was seen, and you know that uh, where Gidrick and Felix were, and that is Warhammer Fantasy. So yeah, and he is in 40K. That's what I meant. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm teleporting right away, and we're gonna combine forces with the Emperor. Just gotta fix everything. It's gonna be awesome. The only old Chaos God missing 40K from Warhammer Fantasy that I can remember is Malau. But yeah, but is he canon? Because like some people told me that he's not actually canon. Some people told me that well he is canon, so he doesn't seem to be like canon. He seems to be like on the back end, on back seat of things. But well, you have to let me know. Angry Ron. Angron. Angry Ron. Amazing. Yeah, I really like actually all the names. That is one of the other things that stood out to me when I first got into 40K because they all have awesome badass names. So yeah, in whatever way they came up with them, they're just awesome names. So yeah, guys, that's gonna be it for this stream. It went for yeah, like far too long, although we did cover it as tightly as possible, each question. And the chat, you guys. So that's gonna be it. Will I play Resident Evil for tonight? I do want to. It's Friday, but I also have to train. So, okay. Okay, I'm gonna do this. So, I'm gonna go train. And let's see in an hour, which is gonna be 10:38 my time. So if I'm okay for that, I'm gonna do it. If not, I'm just gonna do it tomorrow whenever I can, although tomorrow is super busy because I have to do the 2 videos for my OnlyFans, film, edit, release. Ah, damn it, but I want to play Resident Evil. Damn it. Well, if you want to watch that, let me know, guys. But I'm kinda tight with the time to this point. Thanks, W. Convery. I'm not sure how to read that, but thank you. Yeah, I do need to rest. Well, I want to finish it. I'm just not sure if I can finish it because even if I play, it's gonna be like an hour, not more. Well, okay, guys, let's leave it at if I'm going to stream, I'm gonna prepare the stream in like 30 minutes. If it doesn't appear, then I will not stream. So you will know. You will see it pop up. Thank you, Michael. Thank you. So, guys, I hope that you enjoy this and please share to other 40K fans so they can know. And yeah, I appreciate all your support, guys. As always, if you like to support me, you can check out my original 40K, products down there with my designs and all those things. My OnlyFans for meaningful sex educational content, personal advice, fitness, health, nutrition, all of that I can, I can do there. And that's it. I really enjoy that. Can't wait to cover the next topic because 40K is so rich and so awesome. I cannot get enough of that. It's one of the things that I mostly can talk about. I mean, one of the things are Xena, Warrior Princess, and 40K, which I never thought that there's gonna be another thing that I'm as passionate about and as deep to me as what Xena is. But well, Xena is different. But the point is, 40K is enough rich and fascinating to me. So here I am, basically. Yeah. Okay, guys. We'll see after 30 minutes if anything's gonna happen. So look forward to that. But to all the rest, guys, thank you. And until next time with me, Gary G Reviews. Bye, guys.